We're a couple weeks away from training camp. I want to get to the Bedone sound in a minute. But you and I have had this kind of as a aside, not necessarily the main conversation. There were several points this offseason where when we did the Shedeur versus Deshaun, people said, I don't care about this conversation. I checked out. In a way that I don't remember people checking out of the quarterback conversation. Last year, that was me with Flacco versus Pickett versus Shedeur versus Dylan Gabriel.
Somewhere in Cleveland, behind closed doors, a decision is being made that has nothing to do with arm strength, nothing to do with pocket presence, and everything to do with pride. Because in a few short weeks, the Browns are going to have to answer a question they've been dodging all offseason. Do you start the quarterback with the guaranteed money or the quarterback with the guaranteed future? And whichever way this goes, somebody is going to feel betrayed. This isn't just a quarterback competition. Not anymore. This is a referendum on how the Cleveland Browns view their own future. On one side, you have Deshaun Watson, a former franchise cornerstone, now defined more by injury reports than highlight reels, still owed one of the richest contracts in NFL history. On the other, a rookie who wasn't even supposed to be here, 5th round, fell further than anyone predicted, Shedeur Sanders. And somehow, in less than a year, he's become the most talked about man in the building. You can feel it building already. Training camp hasn't even opened, and the fault lines are showing, because this isn't a normal quarterback battle where fans just want the best player to win. This one has become personal. There are people in this fan base who have already decided they can't watch Deshaun Watson start another game. Not won't, can't. And there are just as many who still believe patience and money buy you one more shot, no matter what the tape says. That tension is exactly why this story refuses to die down. Go back to earlier this offseason, when the Browns first started fielding questions about who takes the first snap in September. The answer from the building was calculated silence. No promises, no declarations, just competition, they said. Let it play out in camp. But silence from a franchise never actually kills speculation, it feeds it. And in Cleveland, where quarterback drama has practically become a rite of passage, that silence turned into weeks of speculation, debate, and outright frustration.
Yeah.
Will come around and get into the quarterback battle.
I think they will. I think everybody ultimately will. I am curious how the other stories land, though. I feel like, I don't know why, earlier today, Baskin Phelps went on an offensive line tangent, and it was just like, and I've seen a couple other spots too. They just go on these like weird offensive line discussions. They're not weird, like they're going to be had, but
it's the offensive line.
Well, so we've spent months, legitimately when you get to training camp talking about kicker controversies. You know, like you.
Local radio hosts started saying the quiet part out loud. One prominent Browns voice put it bluntly on air, saying that if Watson is named the starter in Week 1, he's done watching. Not forever, just until the inevitable happens. He gave himself a timeline, roughly 3 weeks, enough time, in his words, for either an injury or a performance bad enough to force the switch. That's not hyperbole from a fan with a burner account. That's a credentialed media member, someone whose job depends on covering this team closely, essentially admitting he'd rather step away than watch it unfold. And that's the part that should stop you in your tracks, because when insiders start talking like disillusioned fans, you know the temperature in that building has changed. Now, picture Shedeur Sanders watching all of this from the outside, a rookie, a guy who spent draft night in visible disbelief as team after team passed on him, cameras capturing every excruciating minute of it. He didn't get the storybook entrance. He got the version where the whole country watched him wait and wonder and wear it on his face. That kind of moment doesn't just disappear once you get drafted. It follows you into the building. It follows you into every practice rep. Every reporter's question secretly carries a trace of it. Are you good enough? Was the fall deserved? He's heard the noise. Everyone around this team has. But what makes Shedeur different, according to people close to the program, is that he hasn't let the noise dictate how he operates. There's a stillness to him that's almost unsettling for a rookie in his position. Coaches talk about it. Teammates talk about it. It's not arrogance. It's something closer to conviction, like he already knows something the rest of the league hasn't figured out yet.
Yes or
again,
no?
if I'm programming it, it's not my top story. But I feel like there's been this weird push in the past, I don't know, again, 24 hours, whatever it's been, where people, they want it, like, I can hear them shaping it already. Between that, now wide receivers would be a top story for me in many ways. But yeah, the quarterback stuff is going to reach people. It's just we're at an interesting spot. There's enough people like me and you that hate Deshaun Watson and as a football player and hate what his play stands for, essentially. Way too injured and not good enough when he does.
That belief isn't just coming from Shedeur himself. It's coming from voices inside the organization that most fans don't even hear from often. Tyvis Powell, a name Browns fans know well from his own playing days in Cleveland, has been vocal about why Shedeur isn't just a project, he's a plan. Powell has pointed to the calmness Sanders shows under pressure, the way he processes the field, the way he seems to already understand the offense at a level that usually takes veterans years to reach. When a former player, someone who's actually stood in that locker room, starts publicly backing the rookie over the guy making superstar money, that's not just noise anymore. That's a signal. And here's where the story gets complicated, because logic and emotion are pulling this organization in two different directions. Emotionally, letting go of Deshaun Watson feels almost impossible for a front office that staked its reputation on him. The trade compensation, the guaranteed contract, admitting the plan didn't work means admitting a mistake that will follow this franchise for years. But logically, every argument inside that building is starting to point towards Shedeur. He's cheap, he's controllable, he's already earning the respect of his teammates simply by outworking expectations. And most importantly, if he plays well now on a rookie contract, it buys the front office years of financial flexibility to build the rest of the roster around him. The argument that starting Watson first somehow protects Shedeur, gives him time to develop, lets him learn from the sideline, has been picked apart by nearly anyone who's actually watched this team closely, because if Shedeur is truly the guy, sitting him behind an aging, oft-injured veteran doesn't protect him, it delays him, it risks him. Every fan base has seen this movie before. The promising rookie forced to wait for a declining veteran, only for the opportunity to arrive a year too late after confidence is already eroded on the bench. So if the front office genuinely believes in Shedeur Sanders, and multiple voices inside the building suggest they do, then benching him from day one doesn't make sense. It only makes sense if there's still doubt. And that doubt, more than anything else, is what's fueling this entire storyline heading into camp.
I would sit here and I would get all red-faced and I would match my hand on the table here and I would yell and scream that they can't start that guy, they can't put that guy on the field. If they do, I won't be I don't even have to say that anymore, okay? If they start Deshaun Watson week 1, I've already got it lined up with Jimmy Hamlin. I'm going to get really good at golf, and I'm going to give myself until about week 3, because at that point, I'd expect that either Deshaun Watson will be hurt or he'll be so.
Meanwhile, the criticism directed at Shedeur hasn't slowed down for a second. Analysts have questioned his decision-making under pressure. Others have pointed to his college tape and wondered if the hype that surrounded him at Colorado will translate against NFL speed. Every mistake in practice gets magnified. Every strong throw gets dismissed as just one rep. That's the tax you pay when your story becomes bigger than football, when your face was on national television during one of the most humbling moments of the draft. Then every single throw afterward gets treated like a referendum on that day. But here's what's interesting. The people who actually spend time around him, coaches, teammates, even opposing scouts brought in during camp, keep repeating the same word: poised. Not flashy, not loud, poised. In a league where quarterbacks are often judged by how they react in chaos, Shedeur has reportedly stayed remarkably even, whether he's getting praised in the film room or getting torched on a bad rep in 11-on-11s. That evenness is exactly what teams look for when trying to identify a franchise quarterback, because talent alone has never been enough in this league. Composure is what separates the guys who survive their rookie mistakes from the guys who get buried by them. Now zoom back out to the bigger picture, because this isn't just about one quarterback battle. It's about an entire fan base deciding how much heartbreak they're willing to absorb one more time. Cleveland has lived through quarterback purgatory for decades. Names come and go, hope rises and collapses, and every single time fans talk themselves into believing this next guy is finally the answer, only to watch it fall apart again. That history is exactly why this Watson versus Sanders storyline hits differently than a normal camp battle. It's not just about who wins the job, it's about whether this franchise is finally willing to let go of the version of the plan that isn't working and commit fully to the one that might. And that brings us to the part of the story that nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone is thinking. What happens if Shedeur wins the job and then gets pulled the moment Watson is deemed healthy? What happens to a young quarterback's confidence and a fan base's patience if the front office blinks the second things get uncomfortable? Because that's the real fear here. Not that Shedeur isn't good enough, but that the organization won't have the conviction to stick with him, even if he is.
Thing. I disagree with Frank to the idea that it's set in stone. And I also disagree that the Browns have flexibility with Shedeur. Let's all. You don't have to like Shedeur to understand this. The best thing for the Browns is Shedeur, the rookie on a controllable contract, who they drafted last year in the 5th round, doesn't just play but plays really well, and he does so by taking the job in training camp, because that means he won the respect of the guys around him and Todd Monken. And
if you're following this story the way we are, hit that subscribe button right now, because this quarterback battle is about to get a lot louder before training camp even opens, and you're going to want to be here for every twist. There's a version of this story where Shedeur Sanders takes that first snap in September and never looks back. With the doubt, the draft night embarrassment, the media skepticism, all of it becomes the origin story instead of the ending. Teammates have already started describing him differently than they describe a typical rookie. Less like a project, more like someone they're building around. Offensive linemen talk about how quickly he diagnoses protections. Receivers talk about how accurate his placement is, even under pressure. None of that guarantees success on Sundays, but it explains why belief inside the building keeps growing, even as outside noise stays skeptical. And then there's the other version, the one where Watson opens the season as the starter, the offense sputters, injuries pile up again, and by mid-season the fan base is louder than ever, demanding the switch that should have happened in August. That version isn't hypothetical. It's happened before, not just in Cleveland, but across this league. Teams clinging to sunk cost instead of trusting what's right in front of them. Whichever direction this goes, one thing is already clear. Shedeur Sanders is no longer just a storyline. He's a test of whether this organization can admit a mistake, trust a rookie, and finally break the cycle that's haunted this franchise for years. Because at some point, the excuses run out. At some point, talent has to matter more than money already spent. And if Shedeur Sanders is even half as ready as the people around him believe, then this decision isn't just going to define his rookie season. It's going to define what kind of franchise the Cleveland Browns actually want to be.